What is going on, everyone? My name is Jordan, and this is the Top Shelf Tennessee YouTube channel. And I really didn't want my first YouTube video on this channel to be about what it's going to be about. But it just so happens that the big news of today is that Jarnkrok is going to be missing the rest of the regular season due to an upper body injury against that he sustained in the win the other night against Winnipeg. I was actually at that game, and it was a bad hit. It was a very bad hit. I can't really say much about it. It should have been a clear-cut interference call. It looked like the refs had been swallowing their whistles all night. A lot of chippy, just rough hockey being played that night, and I'm not sure why. Nothing came of it. I don't know why player safety didn't issue a fine, a suspension, anything, just because it was very late. It did, result in an injury, and I just don't understand that. I'm looking for consistency from them, and we're not seeing consistency from them. They are not playing by their own rules, I guess you could say, but this Jarnkrok situation, it's weird because he's a very big part of this team right now. It looked like they were headhunting him. Cop was, hitting pretty much all night. He was always in the middle of a scrum. And Dustin Byfuglien took a few good shots at Jarnkrok that night. He was always, it just seemed like every time I looked down to the boards, there was a scrum and Byfuglien was in the middle of it. And you expect that from Big Buff. You expect that. And I just feel like that game was a little weird. Just because it was so physical, and I don't think a lot of people thought it was going to be that physical. I expected a chippy game back and forth just because it was against the Preds and the Jets, and it was, for the stakes that it was. But it just seemed like those two players were always in the middle of it. Buff pinned Callie against the boards, took a couple shots at him. They skated back down ice, and this was a couple minutes before the cop hit, but they skated back down to the other end, and Buff was slashing. He was, letting Callie know where he was. But it was a rough game all night, but I still don't understand the fact that player safety didn't even issue a fine. I think it was worse than the Forsberg hit, where Forsberg got 3 games, just because that Forsberg hit was a lot closer than the cop hit was. But it is what it is. I think this team is going to be able to overcome that Jarnkrok injury. He may be able to come back in the playoffs, and that 100% depends on how deep we go into the playoffs. But this is the reason. This is the reason right here why Poyle decided to trade for Hartman, and Fisher came back. So this is the reason all that happened, because now we have the depth in order to make it farther, and this is the reason why we got that depth. But still, it's going to be a big injury. They're going to miss Jarnkrok a little bit, just because he is kind of that guy that can sit on a third line, he can sit on a fourth line, he can go up to the second line, he can just play in a lot of different places. He's proficient in face-off, so if somebody gets kicked out of the circle, he can go in there and do that. He can do a lot of different things, and they're gonna miss him a little bit. I think that Tolvanen's coming in towards the end of the season. I think this is gonna open up a roster spot, sort of say, like playing time for Tolvanen. I do think that this probably gets him past the 9 games for his entry level, where it's going to burn a year. But, it is what it is. We're trying to win now. This is the window, so go for it. In my opinion, go for it. But you still want to look down the line and say, hey, we want to, make sure that he's a part of this organization for a long time. We want to make sure that all those pieces fit, especially with Seattle coming in and getting an expansion team. And, the expansion draft for that team is going to be in a couple years. So it's a lot to kind of digest today, but it is what it is. I feel like it's still going to be a good it's going to be a good outcome regardless. It's not what you wanted, but we can take it right now. We got the depth, and I'm not really worried about it. But that's all I really have for today. I wanted my first video to be about something else, but that's just the way it works sometimes, I guess. But if if you want, go ahead and leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will be back with another video about the Preds pretty soon, I hope. But everybody have a good rest of the day, and I will see you guys later.